Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
First deep flying high, fans cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Meaty boys brawling, no holds barred bout. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe. Not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman?
Tune in the vibe. Party Reds, good centers. Got me on the mic, now let's spill the tea. Talking courtside dreams from history. Legends on the blacktop now and then. From Will to Steph, we hit it again. All better chimes in, let's go deep. Young bloods rising, can't skip a beat. Puppy prospects with fire in their eyes. Draft night suckers and hoop dream highs. Wire to wire, bring the heat. Podcast magic can't be beat. Do better, but roll better. We're hoop heads, trendsetters.
What is poppin', y'all? It's your boy, Guard E3, and welcome back to the And One Podcast. And you know how it is, of course, joining me just like every week, I call him the greatest co-host of all time, and I wouldn't tell a lie. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Mo Better. How you doing today, Mo?
Hey, what's good, Brett? What's going on, everybody out there joining us? Getting ready to talk some hoops, y'all. Let's go.
By the way, shout out to John. He jumped into the comments right off the bat while the intro was going on. So appreciate you, John.
John is man. He don't miss a beat.
Nah, tonight we see Duke take that L. Obviously, they take on Arizona. That game will be starting while the show is going on. So that'll be fun to keep track of. But before we get into anything, you know how it is. Got to start out with our underrated player of the week. For anybody who's just tuning in or just joining us, every week we start off the show by giving flowers to players who don't get enough love and who are underappreciated. Or it could be a team, or it could be an executive, it could be an announcer. It's really anything you want. Mo, why don't you get us kick-started? You got an underrated player this week?
I'm going in a way back machine a little bit. My underrated player this week is going to be sleepy-eyed Sam Perkins. If you don't know Sam Perkins, he was a star at North Carolina. High draft pick came out, and Sam Perkins had the ability to post from either side of the block. Later in his career, he extended his range, became a really effective three-point shooter. Sam Perkins was on that Lakers team that lost to Michael Jordan's Bulls in the 90-91 finals. That Laker team was completely overhauled and reinvented. It was a power post team that featured Magic Johnson, Sam Perkins, Vlade Divac in the post. They nicknamed them the opposite of Showtime. They were called Slow Time. So I want to shout out to a very good player who had a long, productive career, sleepy-eyed Sam Perkins.
You know what? That's a great call. I absolutely love it. You know, I wanted to, maybe go back a decade, throw back to somebody, this was a guy who, towards the end of his career, he got remembered for a really bad contract that he got. Shouldn't take away from the player that he was, and this is kind of in honor of, seeing, Florida continuing to make their run into the tournament. How about a guy that was on their last team that went back-to-back in 07-08? I'm talking about Joakim Noah.
Oh, nice.
Say, center of the Chicago Bulls. Obviously, played with Derrick Rose. He was the heart and soul of that defense. I see a lot of people, they'll make fun of his jump shot. They'll look at that Knicks contract and be like, how? But, hey, that man was a defensive anchor. He was a great playmaker. Overall, he did all the little things that you would need to do to win. And he was really the glue that held that defense together with other guys, another great defender on that defense, Luol Deng. So, but I wanted to give flowers to Florida Zone. Formed a great front court with Al Horford to go back-to-back. Jakeem Noah.
That's a great pick. What I liked the best about Noah was, like you said, his playmaking, Brett. Like, he was a terrific passer from the mid-post. Super high basketball IQ, great leader, played with great intensity. Derrick Rose was the star, no doubt, but the backbone of that team, those Tom Thibodeau teams, that was Joakim Noah. I believe, I could be wrong, but didn't he win DPOY at least once?
I could actually look that up.
I think he won it at least once. Just a great player who his career should have lasted long. But look, when you do the Tom Thibodeau thing, that's not built for you to last long.
Yeah, it was 2013-14. I was like 99% sure that he did, but I couldn't remember the year, and it was going to bother me. Yeah, because he had that DPOY season, and he finished like fourth in MVP voting, and then it led to him getting that massive contract from the Knicks.
Right.
But unfortunately, if you play for Tibbs, that's aging in dog years at that point. So, but you know what, Mo? It's March Madness. It's that time of year. So I thought I'd bring back a couple of puppy prospects for this week.
Let's do it.
One of them plays soon. Ironically, plays for Duke. But I'm going to start on the women's side. Kiki Irefin. I love it from USC. She's my puppy prospect on the women's side of the board here. I think she's an absolutely fantastic player. I think she's a top 5 pick in this draft. Great offensive talent. Doesn't stretch the floor, but she can hurt you inside the arc very well. As you can tell, I make sure to write the pros and cons. Her big drawbacks right now is she's not really a massive rim protector. And she kind of has a turnover problem. But she makes up for that. She can get to the paint. She's physical. She can finish with both hands. She's got a little bit of a midi that can get going. So I'm excited to see her get to the next level. And I think if you give her a team that – I think with her defensively, you have to go one of two ways. You either, A, have to go all in on just switching and versatility, or you need to play her next to kind of a rim-protecting center.
Oh, I got you, yeah.
At the next level, she's definitely going to be a fun, 4-5 combo to, keep an eye on. Be a great pickup for new expansion team there in Golden State, the Valkyries, the Mystics, or the Seattle Storm. But she'd just be a great pickup for pretty much any team. She's a fantastic talent.
Agreed. Obviously still has more development to go as she goes to the next level in her career. But you're right. She's already a terrific finisher around the rim. Has the ability to drive the basketball effectively. So I think with her, a lot's going to depend on where she's drafted and who she plays with, because if she plays or gets drafted to a team that has strong guard play, it's going to set her up for success.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited to see where Kiki goes, but she's my puppy prospect on the women's side of things. And like I said, kind of teased it earlier, Duke center, come on, Malo. I'm sorry, I struggle pronouncing his last name.
I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
But overall, we saw him with the Ugandan national team. Obviously, Luol Deng helped bring that back to life with that big Lakers contract that he got. And he was a revelation. He went over, played for Duke. And, Mo, to me, this guy plays like a taller, bigger Miles Turner. This guy's got an insane lob radius. He can pretty much catch anything. He's got a massive wingspan. And, don't let that 3-point percentage deceive you. because he has gone through full seasons of shooting 36% from three. A couple of years ago, not this year. Up until December, he was at 33%. So he's up and down right now. But the potential for a stretch big is there. But even right now, this is a guy that can go in and really help any team with his rim protection and his, play finishing. You set him up with a strong playmaker. That would be absolutely great for him. That's one of the reasons on good fits for him. I put the Bulls. Him and Josh Giddey would be great. So
I like that. Let me ask you this though: is he a top 10 pick?
I could see him falling to like the top 15.
Because the way you describe him, there's a lot of potential there. He's already a terrific lob threat. Can be a rim protector. He's athletic. You said he's actually got the instincts and the twitchy, the ability to be able to play in space, which I like. I guess the question is he somebody that needs to develop, or can he play right away?
I think he can play right away. Even right now, this version of him, he's still a fantastic finisher and rim runner. On the defensive end, he's very good at altering shots, even though, averaging a little over a block a game. But throughout the year, he's just become much more disciplined on that end. He's much better at staying down, doesn't bite for every pump fake. So he's one of those guys that he averages over a little under a block a game, but he alters a lot of shots. So I think he has room to grow. But even this version of him right now could pretty much plug into any single team and just be ready to go with just his screen and roll game.
Look, if he's what you said, I love the potential. Not to mention, he can still get so much better. And get him with the right shooting coach, get him with the right culture. That 3-point shot, it'll become more efficient. If he was able to shoot it before at a high efficiency, and he's been kind of up and down, I think it's a matter of getting him with the right coach, getting him with the right routine, and that'll make him even more of a dual threat on both ends of the floor. So, look, you say you like him for the Bulls. I'm selfish. I want him for the Lakers.
Hey, fair enough. Like I said, I know the Bulls pick at 11. If he falls to the Bulls at 11, it'd be a great replacement for Vooch. But there's just so many fun places that he could possibly go.
Not to hammer Patrick Williams, but I think it's because of Patrick Williams that I don't see the Bulls drafting him. Because what you described to me, I thought they kind of thought Patrick Williams was going to be a better version of that. And I can't imagine having him and Patrick Williams on the floor at the same time, because I don't see how that would work. I think what Chicago needs, let's keep it a buck. He seems like he's going to be a very good player. What Chicago needs is a franchise player. They need to hit on somebody that can be their best player. And I think from what you described and what I'm reading, he's going to be a really good player. I don't think he's going to be any franchise's best player.
No, he's probably one of the safer picks in the lottery, but yeah, no, I don't think he'll be a franchise player, but he's going to be a very great addition to a lot of different teams.
Agreed.
I would love to another place. It's interesting to say this too, because they already have Okonwu, but him and Trae Young would probably be great. Trae Young could just very easily simplify the game for him. And he loves that spread pick and roll, which Kaman would absolutely thrive in.
Yeah, look, I think you put somebody with his athleticism, with a terrific playmaker. Giddey is a natural playmaker, as is Trae Young, because he's going to draw attention to him because of his scoring ability, as is Luka, as is Joker. I don't think Denver has a pick that high, but he would give them some really needed depth that they don't have up front. So I'm just saying, who does have 1,000 picks and we don't never talk about what they need? Oklahoma City.
You know what? I could absolutely see that too. I could see OKC consolidating some of those that go up, because they do have Chet and they do have iHeart, but
right.
You know what? Why not get a third? You need a third stringer. Chet's already kind of been in and out with injuries, obviously his rookie year and now this year. So getting almost a third really good big, it's kind of selfish, but when you're in a position like OKC and you're pretty much stacked everywhere, at that point, you might as well just kind of ensure the places that are a little weaker. And while big, I think, is one of their strongest positions, it's also kind of worrisome just because Chet kind of hasn't shown that he can hold up like a full like season yet consistently.
And I think he will. I think for Chet, a lot of that's going to come with the fact that he's going to get stronger, right? He's going to get stronger. I think as his body gets stronger, he'll be a little bit more durable. If he got injured again and it's a similar injury, let's say sometime next season, as a fan, I would be concerned. I know that I'd have to think Sam Presti would be concerned. Making that pick and bringing in that young man, I think is a smart move because he would be a great insurance policy because of the things that he's already good at right now.
No, absolutely. Bama broke the NCAA record for most threes. Yeah, they're currently up 20 on BYU.
Damn it!
They're up. Oh yeah.
I was calling for the upset. So much for that.
Bama's at 24 for 50 from three. That's just tough to beat.
See,
BYU 6 of 27 from deep.
Every time I try to be nice to BYU, every time I try to show them love, they treat me like they treated Ty Detmer. That's what I get. I get that kind of treatment. Okay, all right. I've learned my lesson. Shout out to Bama.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of these games and how they play out. But
you and me both.
Hey, you know what, Mo? Why don't we just get the drama out of the way?
I know you got a lot on your mind, partner, so do your thing.
You know what drama I'm talking about. Y'all know what drama I'm talking about. We're still doing this. Like 3 weeks later, Stephen A. and LeBron are still going at it. LeBron finally responds by going on the Pat McAfee show. So Stephen A. has the clap back, which he just needs to quit while he's like way behind. I think he just lost all credibility by some of the stuff that he said today. But before I get into my thing, Mo, I'm curious why. What do you think about this feud that's probably never going to end and still going?
I thought when LeBron confronted Stephen A., I thought, okay, he did what he had to do. He wanted to get his point across about his son, and that was it. But I think once the video hit and more people saw it and it kind of went viral, then it forced Stephen A. to go out and say something. And he was saying, well, it's done. And I was talking about LeBron and not Bronny and all that. And I thought it's a wash. But then Stephen A. kept going on other shows talking about it. He wasn't done. He even went, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he go on Gil's Arena and talk about it? Like, he talked about it everywhere he went. So it didn't go away. And I felt like, okay, so then LeBron was thinking, we're not done. For LeBron to go on the Pat McAfee show, which follows First Take, that's a shot. It's a monster shot. And Stephen A. can say it doesn't bother him. Of course it bothered you. Pat McAfee and his crew, they've been at ESPN a hot minute, and they got an interview that you'll never get. Of course that bothered you. And look, I guess the feud's not over. The thing about this is, as it progresses, there is nobody wins. Like, I think LeBron punching or going after Stephen A. for him, because where LeBron is or how we see him, Brett, at least how I see him, he's punching down, right? Like, when you punch down, the person you're punching at, it benefits them. It makes Stephen A. Smith more relevant, right? Like, as this keeps going on, it makes it more relevant. And then LeBron I think it is a mistake when he says some of the things he says. Like, a lot of things he says, I truly believe it's rehearsed. But when he made the comment about, and it's so weird and random, like, about the 70s, yeah, Giannis would score 250 points. Like, why even touch that? Why go there? Why say stuff like that? Right. One, you're supposed to be a historian of the game. If Giannis is in the 70s, he would play against the best version of Bill Walton. He wouldn't be better than Bill Walton. Not that version. He's not going to be better than Kareem. Now you're talking peak Kareem. And peak Kareem and Bill Walton, they're not scoring 150 points back then either. Like, that's it. It's one of those things where it's an unnecessary comment. and it does show a lack of respect for that era. It does. It doesn't make sense to me. And as good as Giannis is, I'm a huge fan. All you have to think about how basketball was played back then. He would have been really good. He might have been the best player in the game, maybe, but he wouldn't have been. I think his numbers would have been similar to what they are right now. I think LeBron. He overspoke. He should have made his point and just stopped talking, but he couldn't help himself. And I think the more he talked, like when Kendrick Perkins and Brian Windhorst, who are two of the biggest LeBron fans in the universe, when they turn on you, those are your fanboys. When they turn on you, you've been talking way too much. And Kendrick Perkins is right. Today's players are overly sensitive. They're whiny. They are whiny. They don't like comparisons. They don't like they're whiny. And the problem is the face of this era for 20 years, it's been LeBron James. The only other guy that was up there with him was Kobe, and they were completely opposites. But LeBron is a part. He literally adapted everything that's happened in this era. When we went through the whole thing about guys flopping and doing all, LeBron did it too. Like he adapted that, and he started flopping and floundering around. Like he is the anchor, the face of this era for the good and the bad. And I feel like this whole thing where I got to protect the players they're not in danger. If you play bad, if you underachieve, you, me, and any other pundit has the right to criticize and point out he's not playing bad. We've said our piece about Paul George, right? Huge contract, beyond underachieved. That's not personal. Paul George has been a disappointment. He's been terrible. It is what it is. I think LeBron, if he had just stuck to talking about Stephen A. and that situation, I'm with him. I think he was saying way too much stuff that was out of pocket. And I thought he stooped down to Stephen A. Smith's level. It shouldn't have been close. It should have been LeBron whitewashed. It's over. But when he just started, like, he took a subtle shot. I don't know if you saw the McAfee interview. I did. But he goes, yeah, I wore 23 for Michael Jordan, but there became a disconnect between the fans and the players. I think when it was MJ's second, or was it his third time he retired, it came out. Like, that's a shot, and it's unnecessary, but he couldn't help himself. I'm a fan of LeBron James, but the thing that I've always disliked about him, I think every great player aspires to be the best player that ever played. You should. Nothing wrong with that. But if people don't tell it to you enough and you become super thirsty that you need people to say it to you, and then when they don't say it, you feel compelled or disrespected because they don't say it, I don't understand that. I don't remember Kobe begging for attention. I don't remember any other great player feeling like they don't get enough props. I've never heard Giannis go, they don't love me enough, they don't respect me enough. Certainly Joker doesn't do it, but LeBron's done it for the better part of 20 years. And it's the most annoying part about him.
Hey, you know what? That's fair enough. Yeah, no, I agree. He was unnecessary with the MJ stuff. Some of the stuff he said was weird. Like, I agree. I obviously I love Giannis too, but he wouldn't come anywhere near that. The problem with people saying that, he would average this in the 70s, and they don't take like context into consideration. Giannis in the 70s wouldn't be built like the same, Giannis we have now. He'd be more muscular, ground-bound, a post player. So I'm not going to sit there and go, well, Giannis in the 70s, be a different player in the 70s, and I can't, time warp to put this Giannis into the 70s. So I'm not even going to sit there trying to make that argument, because to me, that's stupid, right, Peanut? Thank you.
I think he would have played center in the 70s, right?
Yeah. He would have played center, and instead of being this like agile monster, they would have had him lifting weights and playing more back to the basket, which has never really been his strength.
I think that was my point. Like, if Giannis came up and he got drafted in the 70s, they wouldn't have said like, yo, this guy can play in the open floor and break people down off the dribble. They would have been like, get in the post, get on the block, right? That it would have been a different Giannis. He would have still been effective, but he would not been this great player that we see right now. And that was my thing. And I thought because LeBron is supposed to be a student of the game that he knew better than to say that. But I think he was just taking shots. And I don't understand because I'm like, what player from the 70s disrespected LeBron James?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like he was punching back because, you always got those guys that'll be like, well, if you put this old player in nowadays, they dominate. And on the flip side, there's a lot of people that'll be like, oh, well, players now would struggle back in the day. But here's the thing about that. People who say that normally are just trolls and like Twitter users. So like, I really don't care about that. Like,
agreed.
Like, I get it. I'm also just a Twitter user, but I also can take things into context
right,
and actually make an articulate and smart point. So I don't like, I agree. If you would have just came in, made this point and just like left or talked about something else would have been great. But yeah, he just kind of ran on for a little too long.
And McAfee's really good. If you start ranting, McAfee's going to give you the space to keep ranting.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this was an absolute POS move for Stephen A.
It was well, one, he was wrong because he was there. LeBron was there, so you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Maybe you weren't there because LeBron was there.
And, he goes on Twitter, and this is the part that bothers me. He goes, oh, I was wrong, and LeBron was there. I'm like, yeah, we've known he was there for 5 years now. Where have you been?
Right.
And, the other part that bothered me, too, that made him look horrid, was when he started trying to go after LeBron, like, I didn't ask you about why you weren't at, Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame speech. I don't know. Maybe it's because his son just 2 weeks prior went into cardiac arrest, needed heart surgery, and they were busy dealing with and visiting cardiologists. Like, family first. He was taking care of his family. That's what. It's not like he's like, oh, screw this Wade guy. There was stuff going on. And I get it. Like I said, family first. Stephen A just keeps picking the absolute worst battles, Mo. And then the absolute funniest part to me, because I thought he was a POS just for those two things, and I thought he had already lost. But the last one, Mo, was, well, let's see how relevant you are when you retire and I stop talking about you. Like, do you think you're a bigger superstar than LeBron James, Stephen A?
I thought the same thing.
Like, do you think LeBron's riding your coattails to relevancy? Because last time I checked, you're not the guy who put him on the map in 2003. You're not the guy who put him on the cover of, what was it, Slam magazine and dubbed him the chosen one?
Right.
You're not that guy. You're a guy. You're a guy who, all the credit in the world, you have risen up the ranks of journalism, now one of the biggest sports journalists in the world, and going to go down as one of the biggest ever. Congratulations. The problem is they're still going to forget about you a lot sooner than they forget about LeBron James. So I thought that was the absolute funniest thing to me. I think Stephen A, he's just got to let it go. Because, it's getting old. It's getting old. It's done. It's over. In the words of my tribal chief, Roman Reigns, it's like missionary every single night. Like, it's the same thing. So, and I'm just tired of it. Stephen A, you lost. You challenged LeBron, who apparently, if you would have laid hands on you, you would have swung, which makes you look stupid. Why pick a fight you have zero chance of winning? You already stepped into the ring verbally with them. You lost the media battle. So it's over. Just move on. I get it. You want to milk the viewers. Just let it go. Don't make a fool out of yourself any further.
Oh, it's too late. He can't let it go. I mean, Brett, I said the moment LeBron went on McAfee's show that he was going to get the reaction he got what he wanted. Stephen A, remember at the start of First Take, Stephen A rants for 17 minutes. 17 minutes. He's talking about how LeBron is butthurt, but he's still talking about something that's done for 17 minutes. And then because he knew he sounded like a jerk, he had to go, but congratulations to Pat McAfee and his crew. Like, I want every show on ESPN to do well, keep doing what you do. You're like trying to clean it up. Yo, this cat was mad because LeBron didn't invite him on. So he goes, well, I'll debate him anywhere. I'll debate him here. I'll debate him on his whole damn show. Why would LeBron bother debating you or getting in? Again, to me, that would be him punching down. I think he's giving you more of his time than you're worth. And I think Stephen A. Smith, that 17-minute rant, if you go back and listen to it, it didn't make him look good. It made him look desperate, like he was trying, like, back in the day in the hood, they would play the dozens. Stephen A. lost the dozens, and he's still trying to have a battle. The battle's over, and he's still spitting. It's over. It's like they got into a freestyle. LeBron won, and he can't shut up.
I was just about to say he's that guy that says just one more game after he's lost the last 11 one-on-ones and pick up in a row. Like
it's Brett, it's the guy that won't let you go home, and you're like, bro, it's dark. We can't even see the basket no more. And he's like, no, play me one more time. I got you now. I know your game. Like, no, it's over. Stephen A. Smith, look, he is the biggest name, I guess, when you think of sports commentary. He is that. And if he would just stay in his lane, he would be good, but he can't help himself. He talks, Brett, like he has this power over athletes. Like, if I don't speak about you, you're nothing. And I'm like, the line about when LeBron doesn't play anymore and how I just signed my new contract, so I'm going to be here for a while, bro. I'll be here. I was here before you came, and I'll be here when you're gone. And I'm quite sure like when LeBron retires, I don't know what he's going to do next. I do believe eventually, Brett, he will own a team. We're going to still talk about him the way we talked about other greats. We're going to talk about him the way we talk about MJ because I think LeBron's going to continue to do big things, right? And we're going to compare him and talk about him and other great players. Nobody goes around going like, well, looking back on it years now, like, who's better, Stephen A. Smith or Stuart Scott? We don't do that. We don't make that comparison, which, by the way, the answer would be Stuart Scott. I think Stephen A. Smith has lost his mind because he thinks that he's the show, and that's just not the case.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus, you know what's going to happen when LeBron retires? Let's take a little flashback down memory lane. What happened when Jordan retires? Well, who's going to be the next Jordan? Is this guy the next Jordan? Is it Vince Carter? Is it Kobe? Is this guy the next Jordan?
This is true.
Do we really not think that same thing's going to happen with LeBron when he retires? Who's the next LeBron? We've already started the face of the NBA conversation. But as soon as LeBron retires, and this is normally what happens, that's probably about when he'll get his flowers because, everybody has to wait till the player's done to give them their flowers. And then that's when it starts. All right, who's next? Who's the next Bron?
This is facts. I would say this. There are certain guys that are one-on-one. Somebody, Brett, will prove me wrong one day, but no time soon are we going to see anything like LeBron James. Not the total package. If you want to tell me there's a guy who can score and facilitate in a similar way, sure. But as good at that level, more importantly, over 20 plus years, that's one. There's not another one of those out there.
As long as he's a better GM owner than MJ. Well, MJ did not set the bar very high.
All right, that stung, Jury. If you're a Jordan fan, look, I Jordan's not my favorite player, but I'm the first one to say that when it comes to being a GM/owner, Jordan was the worst owner all time. He was the no question. Just look at some of the draft picks. Brett and I were talking about this, I believe, last week. I will never get past the Kid Gilchrist pick, the Frank the Tank pick, the Adam Morrison pick. Like Michael Jordan has made. I mean, there were slam dunk guys ahead of these guys, and Michael Jordan said, "No, we're sleeping. It's Kid Gilchrist." Whoa.
The only guy who can say he was a worse GM than MJ is Isaiah Thomas. That's like his only competition. Like those guys are the full basement.
Dang, they're competing again. They're competing again.
On and
I'll
off the court.
Yes, facts. The money did go to his head, Key, 100%. When you think that you're more important than the sport that you cover, you've lost perspective. Stephen A. Smith is a Class A narcissist. period. Who was an attention whore. I get it, right? The fact that LeBron is going back and forth with him, yes, agree, Kyle. ESPN is giving him more power than he should ever have. But the genie's at the bottle. They've already done it. Now he has that kind of power. He just got that new contract. The only thing that he said was factual is he's not going away anytime soon. He's right.
Oh, please no. I hope LeBron's smarter than this. James Jones is a terrible GM.
He is, but I think Kyle's onto something. I think Kyle's onto something.
I know he is, but like I don't want to watch another James Jones tenure at GM. Like that man started the funny part is he started out really good and then it just fell off a cliff so quickly that now I'm just like I don't even want to see this again.
LeBron is super petty. I think LeBron is going to buy the Hornets. He's going to buy the Hornets, and they're going to have more success under his reign than they ever had under the Michael Jordan. Look, y'all can laugh, but I'm telling you, LeBron James is going to buy the Hornets.
You know what? That would actually be fantastic. I Miss E60 documentary. Yeah, absolutely. Those documentaries are great.
They are awesome. I
just missed it when ESPN focused more on sports than actual random side drama.
I feel like they focus more on personalities, right?
Yeah, and that's fine to an extent, but also the personalities just shouldn't be the whole show. And
Correct.
I think that's the problem. They want personality, which is great, but then they focus only on the personality and lose sight on what they're supposed to be, which is the biggest sports network, ever.
Maybe I'm old school, but I kind of miss Dan Patrick and those guys back in the day. Remember, those guys had fun, but more importantly, they kept it about sports.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know how it is, Mo. Speaking of sports, the Defensive Player of the Year race just got real interesting, Mo, because there's a new favorite. It's Draymond Green has jumped up as the favorite to win DPOY. I didn't think that this was Draymond's year. I still like Mobley over Draymond.
Explain to me why Draymond's the favorite over Mobley. In what way?
He was very vocal and complained to the voters.
All I'm saying is, anybody that's being fair, I'm just talking about what version of Draymond Green this is. He's still a really good team defender, but he's not what he was before. He's not an elite one-on-one defender. Mobley is an elite defender in space, and he's a great rim protector from the weak side, terrific rebounder, and he plays for the team with the best record in the league. Right? Am I missing something? Where'd that line go where we said we reward winning, right? We reward winning. Golden State is, I believe, right now they're in the 7th spot. That the Warriors, the Clippers, and the Timberwolves are all within a game and a half of each other or something like that. How is Draymond Green in the Defensive Player of the Year? Their defense didn't get better because of Draymond. If we're keeping it a buck, their defense got better because of Jimmy Butler. Say what you want about Jimmy Butler as a person, but they got better because of Jimmy Butler defensively, not because of Draymond, because Draymond can't guard in space. He can't guard no wings in space. He doesn't guard wings. They put him on bigs now, at least the ones that don't score. So I don't understand how he's even in the conversation. This has got to be some kind of cruel joke.
I think his big argument comes from the fact that between him, Mobley, and I think your third option will probably, I think the third guy in the race is Jaren Jackson.
Sure.
The Warriors for the year do have an overall defensive rating better than both teams, but also I'm not going to put too much stock into that because they have their difference between them and the Cavs is literally 0.2 of a point. So I think Draymond's been, he's been good this year. He's been great, and I think he deserves a spot on the all-defensive team, but I don't think he's Defensive Player of the Year this year.
Okay, that's where we agree. I think he makes all NBA defense. I'm not certain he makes first team all NBA defense, but I think he makes the all NBA defense team. All I know is there's an 82 game season, and Evan Mobley's been the best defender overall over this stretch. Look, like a complimentary player playing on a team that may or may not make the 7th spot, he should not be defensive player of the year. And if you watch any Warriors game, like usually the defensive player of the year, there's 2 components. You're either an elite rim protector / rebounder, or you're an elite defender that can lock down people on the perimeter. Well, Draymond's he's not a rim protector. He's not an elite rebounder, and he doesn't guard high scoring players anymore. He doesn't guard wings anymore, not scoring wings because he can't guard them. So why would he be defensive player of the year again? Like when the Warriors play the Lakers, most times you watch Draymond don't guard LeBron. Mind you, this is 40-year-old LeBron. He don't guard LeBron. When does he guard Luka? No, he don't guard Luka. If they play, he guards Rudy Hachimura, right? He guards Rudy. So I'm sorry. If you're a perimeter defender and you don't guard the 1 or the 2, you can't be in the running. You can't. I'm sorry. Like that doesn't make sense. Like I feel like what you just led with, if Draymond's in the conversation, he's getting a pity vote.
See, once Steph is back, they won't be playing. Yeah, you know what?
I don't know that to be true because right now, I didn't think Kawhi Leonard would be giving you 20 and 10 3 games in a row. He seems to be getting better and stronger. If he's going to be like that the rest of the season with Harden and Norman Powell, I would pick the Clippers to get the 6th seed, which means the Warriors are going to be in the play-in.
See, absolutely, and I think the Clippers are just a better bet right now than the Warriors.
They're a better team. They're a better team.
I don't even think that's questionable at this point. They just look like a much better team all year, honestly. The Lakers got something out of Jackson Hayes after so many seasons. All credit in the world to obviously Jackson Hayes for continuing to improve, but also JJ Redick. He's been great at putting guys into positions where they can actually succeed and really knowing his team's strengths and weaknesses.
And also, let's keep it a buck. Jackson Hayes is more relevant now because they have 2 elite perimeter players in LeBron and Luka. Because when they didn't have Luka and they just had LeBron and AD, even though AD is a great player in his own right, Jackson Hayes couldn't just be a rim runner, right? Every time Luka has the ball, he draws attention. When they swing it and LeBron can operate one-on-one, he draws attention. Jackson Hayes is going to make a living off of catching and finishing at the rim. And so I don't think he got better. I think he's playing with better players. He's the same player. He don't have a post game. He can't shoot. Couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. But he's going to get more opportunities because he's playing with a more talented he's playing with not 1 but 2 top passers in all the league, like playmakers, both with insane basketball IQs. Like LeBron sees the play 5 beats before the play happens. Luka's the same way. So I don't think this is a different Jackson Hayes. Let's just say that he's playing with better facilitators.
Saying Draymond isn't Al Horford. Hey, listen, nobody's the GOAT. At this point, I'm convinced that Al Horford could play till he's 75 and he would still look the same, play the same. Like,
hey, Kyle,
that man just hasn't aged.
Kyle, all I know is Draymond's a 4-time All-Star, and I know he's won 4 titles. But right now, today, isn't Horford the better player? He's the better player. Al Horford is still a terrific team defender, good rebounder, and Al Horford is extremely reliable from 3. The one thing Draymond still does well that he's done throughout his career, still a terrific playmaker in the open floor, great screen setter, a roller. I think he has one of the highest basketball IQs, maybe arguably in NBA history. But I think Kyle brings up a point. Is he more valuable than Al Horford? He's more valuable to the Warriors. If you took Draymond Green and you put him on the Hornets with LaMelo, you wouldn't even know Draymond Green played.
I'll say, by the way, Mo, we had a great blowout today. The Pacers beat the Wizards 162-109.
So the Wizards have decided, like, yeah, let's pack it in. Let's pack it in. Like, that's beyond him. So that's another example. It's funny because your Bucks played the other night, and they were going to play. I believe they played the Nuggets, correct?
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why the NBA's ratings continue to go down. It's not that the league doesn't have talent. It's that more times than not, when there's an opportunity to have a marquee matchup, what happens? I don't know Giannis' situation. I'm sure whatever injury he has, it's not season ending, but he didn't play last night. And if you're a fan, did you not want to see Giannis go against the Joker? Of course you did, but you didn't get that. And so what we end up with is Joker dominated 30, 10, and 10. Well, that was the whole point. I wanted to see Giannis play and see if that would have been different, and you didn't get that. And I think those opportunities like that hurts the NBA, and it happens way too many times.
Let's see. Defense was clearly optional. Yeah, I'd say the Wizards just opted not to play defense on that one.
To be clear, everybody, they don't play defense most nights. They just took it up a notch.
Yeah, no, that's fair. The Bucks are rough, man. Obviously, we just learned that Dame's going to be out with a blood clot.
That's tough.
There's optimism apparently that he might be able to return this season, so it might not be season ending, but until I hear anything different, I'm just going to assume it is. And Giannis is about to have to pull another incredible carry job if we want to do anything in the postseason. Because once again, I get proven right even though I don't want to be. It's funny because the guy that always gets all the hate from Milwaukee, Brook Lopez, did his best to step up offensively. He looked good. Obviously, he struggled to guard Jokic, but so does everybody. And Brook is also 37. But, credit to Brook. He's been there pretty much every single game and has done everything that we asked him to do. But, yeah, everything falls off a cliff after that. This is the third time in 2 weeks that Kyle Kuzma has been benched in clutch time. And that's who we traded, Chris Middleton for.
Look, we had this conversation. I told you, I think you already knew. I was like, I don't know why people overrate Kyle Kuzma so much. I get it. He was the third option on the Lakers when they won the title. I think it's 2021. But he wasn't. Go back and look at that finals. He was god awful in that finals. Kyle Kuzma's not a great three-point shooter. He shoots a lot of threes, but he's not a great shooter. And the Wizards, being the Wizards, we were just talking about them being the consistently dumb franchise, they go out and they go, we think Kyle Kuzma would be an excellent number 2 to Jordan Poole. Knowing, if you know anything about basketball, that Jordan Poole's not a number 1. He's not a number 1 or number 2. Jordan Poole on a really good team is your third option. Kyle Kuzma on a really good team is your 4th or 5th option. You get what you pay for. The Bucks traded Chris Middleton. They made a move for age, thinking that Kuzma would be an upgrade on the wing because he's younger and more athletic. Those things are true, but he's still not a better basketball player, and that's what they didn't see. And I don't know how they didn't see that. This move right here, it's going to be one of those moves that if the Bucks get knocked out early, it's going to make Giannis do the. I think at some point Giannis is going to go, y'all have to go out and get me some more guys around me. I need some dogs around me, right? I don't give me a Kyle Kuzma. Make a move and go out and get me a number 2 or a number 3 that's a legitimate 20 points per game guy or a two-way guy. Like, if I'm Giannis, I'm like, where's my Jaylen Brown at? Go get me a Jaylen Brown, right? Give me a Jaylen Brown. Get me another guy that I can go to war with. Kyle Kuzma, if he's on your team, he shouldn't get a lot of playing time. Not with the starters. That's not what he's not that. I'm not saying Kyle Kuzma can't be a contributor, but that's what he should be, a contributor. He should not be one of your 3 best players.
You know what's funny, Mo? I heard the most delusional Kyle Kuzma take ever today, and I think you'll get a kick out of this one because one of my Bucks fans I follow on Twitter, they're like, "What does Kyle Kuzma even do?" And this guy's response had to be dying of laughter. because I don't think we ever watched the same player play, apparently. Kuzma has an elite drive spin layup similar to Giannis, is long and athletic on D. Basically a mini Giannis before hitting his superstar arc. Like, and I saw that and I died of laughter. Like, are we watching the same Kyle Kuzma?
What? Well, first of all, he's not really a mini Giannis because I believe Kuzma's actually a year or two older than Giannis. Like I know the perception is because he hasn't been in the league that long that he's young. No, he was one of the older rookies. Like he wasn't that young when he came in the league. I believe Kuzma's 30, 31 now. So, and then if you've ever seen his game, it doesn't remotely relate to Giannis's. I would argue that the closest comparison to Giannis, and they're probably a full 6 or 7 inches apart in size, would actually be Russell Westbrook. I think Russell Westbrook plays a lot like Giannis. I think he's a mini Giannis. He's Giannis without as much control. But Kyle Kuzma, look, Kyle Kuzma's not even a mini version of Tobias Harris. Chill, man.
So the honeymoon ended for Kuzma for me ended on like
the day
one of the trade. And like the funny part is I did give him a chance. I gave him a chance and he was good for a week. But there's a reason I told myself, listen, and this is my rule, like every trade, I want to give it at least like 20 games, like 15 to 20 games.
Fair.
Because, there's always that honeymoon period where they come out, they're energetic, they're really hot. And I want to get past that. And I want to see what they actually are. And as soon as that ended, like he just continuously like is unplayable when we need clutch time. And this is supposed to be, our third best player, I guess. Like Giannis, Dame, Kuzma, Brooke, Bobby, like that is the most uninspiring thing I have ever told myself.
I mean,
yuck. I do not.
Even though I don't like the Knicks on a deep playoff run, that's a tough series for the Bucks. Especially if you don't you got to have Dame just to have a real chance. The funny thing is, I'm surprised somebody didn't make the dumb comparison. Like Kuzma's basically a different version of Tatum, right? Like who makes these stupid compare? Have you not been watching basketball? Have you not watched him his whole career? People have to stop. They have to stop.
It's wild. Jordan,
somebody got an argument with me about Luka and said Luka's one of the greatest shooters we've ever known, and I was like, no, he's not. He's one of the greatest scorers we've ever known, and he does shoot a solid percentage. I think he shoots around 46% from the field, but he's not a great three-point shooter. Luka has games where he'll hit 10 out of 15 threes, but he also has just as many games where he'll go 2 for 13. I believe he shoots under the league. I think the league minimum is 35%. For his career, he shoots under the league minimum. He is not a pure shooter. That's like saying James Harden is a great shooter. He's not a great shooter. They are both a special elite scorers, but they're not shooters.
No, let's see. Just because he plays next to Giannis does not make him a mini Giannis. Like if you like the youngest player that you can say is almost like a mini Giannis. The closest thing you're going to get to that is like a healthy Zion Williamson. Like, that's probably the closest thing you're going to get to a mini Giannis that isn't Russell Westbrook. But,
I kind of like the Zion comparison. That's not bad. That's I feel like that's a left-handed Giannis. I don't think he's quite Giannis, but in terms of what he can do in his size, I like yours better than mine, but I think Russ would be right behind that. But yeah, I think that's the point is, I think what's getting lost in this, Kuzma's name has no business being in that conversation. No business at all. Like right now, if we said, well, who would you take, Kuzma or Rui Hachimura? You would take Rui Hachimura.
Yep. Say, what's a healthy Zion? Is it a myth? We're living in make-believe. Hey, he put together a good stretch of games towards the end here. If I'm the Pelicans, I'm looking to move him. Be like, see, this is what he can do.
Right. This, you top it off by resting him, because you know what's going to happen if you don't. But yeah, his potential is why he still has great value to other teams. The Sixers made the mistake of trying to play Embiid when they should have clearly rested him and moved him once he was healthy. So yeah, look, I think the Bucks, because of Giannis, because you're going to get Portis back, you still have Gary Trent Jr. If you get Dame back, I think that's a tough series for them. But I think that because the Knicks aren't what they were defensively last year, I think the Bucks win that series if they're healthy. If they go in there with their main guys and the Knicks go with their main guys, I think the Bucks win that series.
I think we could handle the Knicks too in that series. The thing with the Knicks, their biggest thing will be they cannot let Giannis get downhill at all. Giannis will get his, and if he starts getting downhill consistently, Cat's not going to be able to do anything against it. So I think the interesting part of a Bucks versus Knicks series, though, is you might not be able to play Brook Lopez that much. Cat does have a sizable speed advantage on him, and he can stretch him out to where Brook's very uncomfortable playing. Maybe
Bobby Portis is a better matchup, or Giannis, right? Because they're quicker.
That's what I think we would end up doing. I think we just run a lot of Giannis at center lineups against that, and you almost match up, Brook Lopez against Mitchell Robinson's minutes if he's playing, and
I'm taking Brook. Yeah, I'm taking Brook over Mitchell Robinson. All right, Brook can shoot. He can make his free throws. Mitchell Robinson can do two things really well when he's playing great. That's get block shots and rebound. But that's the only things he can do. Look, I think it's funny because the Knicks would have the principles that the Knicks would apply to the Bucks by saying, don't let Giannis get downhill, make him a shooter or a passer. I think the Knicks would say the same thing about Brunson. Don't let Brunson play in space, right? Don't let Brunson, if the Bucks commit to being aggressive defensively and they say, we're not going to let Brunson play in space, the Knicks don't have a plan B. I'm not Doc Rivers, but you have to look at the Knicks. Do the scouting report. Doc, they have one guy that can create off the dribble and create for others. One guy. That's Brunson. You shut Brunson down, their whole offense comes to a standstill.
And yeah, I think if you're the Bucks, we can kind of do the same thing too. Now, granted, this is a guy who can get hot occasionally, but Josh Hart's been an awful three-point shooter this year. If I'm the Bucks, the strategy's probably, obviously, if Mitchell Robinson's out there, you can play 4-on-5 and just kind of leave him alone.
Right.
But you can also kind of do that with Josh Hart. And, you're playing with fire a little bit. We've seen him get hot before, but he hasn't really done that this year. He hasn't really gotten going from three. So that's also somebody that if you're going to put Brook out there, that's another guy. You could be like, okay, you're guarding Josh Hart, but you're going to just stand in the paint and try to block shots.
And I love Josh Hart, but if I'm the Bucks and the Knicks have to swing the ball and Josh Hart is open, that's not an accident. We want Josh Hart open. I'm a big Josh Hart fan, but he's not a good shooter. He's not a good shooter from distance. And I would rather him shoot the three than OG or Bridges, who are both much better shooting the three.
No, absolutely. It took us a while to get quality Zion, but we made it.
Right.
I do love positionless basketball too. I love the versatility of these defensive players. It's fantastic. Make Harden bring. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, facts, Kyle. Look, I'm going to tell them if Josh Hart's going to drop 30, we're probably not going to win this series. But I don't believe he can. He might have one game in him like that, but consistently, that's not who Josh Hart has been. He's a terrific player. Does a lot of things really, really well. He doesn't shoot the ball well from distance.
Yeah, and the big thing with Josh Hart, though, and I will say this, though, if you're going to play the whole, leave him alone for this three-point shot, let him shoot, but be ready to put a body on him right away because that man is crashing the board. So
100%.
I will say the Bucks have to be careful because I think that's how a lot of teams get burned by Hart because they're like, it's going to let him shoot, but then they turn around and take their eye off him, and next thing you know, here's 6'4" Josh Hart in there out rebounding everybody and getting extra possessions.
Facts. The funny thing about the Knicks is they don't really play with a traditional power forward. OG he's actually a three that plays the four, Bridges is a 2 that plays a 3, and then they put Josh Hart at the 2. But Josh Hart rebounds like he's 6'10". Like Josh Hart is a better rebounder than Bridges or OG.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I wanted to take a quick look at this real quick, Mo, because so this is the record of everybody from the last 10 games. And why I think it's significant like this, Mo. When we see teams make a deep playoff run, when does it normally happen? You start to see the signs in the second half. And a lot of the times, like right now, when teams start heating up, those are a lot of the times the teams that are going to make the deep playoff runs. Because, they're peaking at the right time. Right. So I'm curious, Mo. See anything here that sticks out to you?
If I'm saying there's a surprise in that mix, sure, Chicago. Because you and I both know, even if Chicago makes the playoffs, I think if I'm a GM, am I happy if my team sneaks into the playoffs, knowing full well we're going to get ran out in the first round? No, because Chicago would benefit from not being in the playoffs. They get a better draft pick, and then they would benefit from that. So I'm surprised that Chicago's done as well as they've done down the stretch. I'm a little bit impressed with Atlanta as well, but I'm not surprised Golden State's played well. Indiana's come on as of late, and the Timberwolves, which nobody is talking about, it seems like they've rediscovered their defensive identity. So the only real surprise under for me has been Chicago. And I know it looks good, and they've gotten some big wins, but this isn't going to be like Jimmy Butler in the Heat Part 2. Kobe White's nice, and he's a bucket, but he's not going to lead the Bulls to the finals.
No, absolutely. And, hey, I'm like I said, I've been tooting their horn for a couple weeks now, and I've been really happy. Like I said, my Tyrese Halliburton almost close to top 10 player pick has looked better and better in the second half. I don't think he makes it all the way up to the 11th best player in the league like I predicted, but he is surely making a run for it. Mo, since the All-Star break, Tyrese Halliburton, 166 assists to 15 turnovers. That's amazing. Distributing the ball, but not only that, he's protecting the ball at an absolutely insane rate. And he's looking like the player that, we saw in the first half of last year, except it's almost like the roles are reversed. He had a rough 20 games to start, and now after that, he's really turned it on, and he's turning it on to an even higher gear at the right time.
He's played really well. It's funny because coming into the season, we talked about how he needed to touch the paint more, be more aggressive, and be more attacking and less settling for the pass. And I think he's done that more in the second half of the season. Last night, he kind of fell into some old habits where he settled for threes when he had his man clearly beat and he should have shot the ball. But look, I enjoy watching him play. I do think he's still one of the up and coming stars. I don't think that he's the kind of player that I think you can win. You can win with Tyrese Halliburton. I don't think you can win with him in terms of I'm always thinking about winning titles. I don't think he can be your best player and you win a title. I think he can be one of your best players. I look at the Pacers and they're really good, but they're the kind of really good where they'll make the playoffs every year and they'll get knocked out in the first round, more than likely. They're not, even when you go deeper into their roster, Siakam's a really good player. But if he's your second best player, that's one of the reasons why you won't go but so far. He should be your third best player. They're the way their roster is constructed, it's mismatched. They have a lot of really good players that other teams would want, but I don't think there's any one player that you would add and go, this changes everything, other than Halliburton. So I still think Indiana is one of those teams that they're relevant, but I still think they need a guy. And maybe you can draft that guy. They do have some talented young dudes, but nobody's really stepped forward to say, pick me, let me be the dude. And so I think that's going to always hold them back because I don't see Siakam as Halliburton's running mate. He's a good teammate, but they've yet to give Halliburton his running mate.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think that Tyrese, he could be the best offensive player on a championship team, but not really the best overall player.
Maybe that's what I meant.
I think that they're going to have to bring in another piece if they want to be title contenders. But yeah, no, I've been too in the Tyree. It's funny because I was just beefing with Pacers fans yesterday. But the ironic part about that is I've been, kind of higher on Indiana than most, and a large part of that is because of Tyrese Halliburton. And
You've been very consistent.
so I love to see what they're doing, and I still want to see them in the playoffs. And I want my Bucks to beat them in the playoffs for last year. But they're peaking at the right time, and they're going to be a dangerous team.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. I think they'll be dangerous, but the East is really weird because once you get past Boston and the Cavaliers, I think it's pot luck. I know the Knicks are third, but I can see the Bucks beating the Knicks. I can see the Pacers and the Bucks having a really good series. But if the Pacers or if the Bucks are 100%, I'm assuming you have Dame and Dame looks like Dame. I think the Bucks win that series. I do. The mystery team that nobody talks about or a few people talk about, I think Detroit's interesting. I really do. I'm not predicting it's a lock they go on a deep playoff run. But I do think, depending on the matchups they get, they have the potential to go on a deep playoff run. I think the Pistons could beat anybody not named the Cavaliers or the Celtics because of what they have on both ends of the floor. They can play fast. They can play in the half court. They've got a dynamic player who can create for others as well as himself. And everybody on that team stays in their lane. That's the best thing about them. They all stay in their lane and play their role. And you got to give that up for Bickerstaff, having them have that mindset. And they defend. They compete. I'm not saying they're the best defensive team in the league, but last year they were 26th. I think this year they're ranked about 10th still. That's a big turnaround for a young team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I'm also high on the Pistons. Hey, somebody on the Wire to Wire podcast network even wrote an article about a team nobody wants to face in April. And it was the team was the Pistons.
Facts.
Spoiler alert, I wrote the article. I love the Pistons, though. I love what they're doing. And, yeah, just, JB Bickerstaff, I think in any other year, JB Bickerstaff would probably be coach of the year if Kenny Atkinson wasn't doing what he's doing. Agreed.
Atkinson's done an amazing job. To me, I'd be shocked if he didn't win coach of the year. I think he's there. Bickerstaff should get at least consideration. He should be at least be in the conversation. And look, we don't give a lot of credit for the turnaround that Bickerstaff has done, and Kenny Atkinson. I think both of them have developed culture, not just on the court and chemistry, but culture inside the locker room. And very few coaches are able to do that in today's NBA.
Yeah, I know, you can give you the top four, who at least I think the top four will be with coach of the year. It should be Atkinson, Bickerstaff. I think JJ Redick's got to be up there, and Mark Dagnut. You can rank those four any order you want, but I think you're going to be your top four coach of the year candidates.
I'm curious if those are the top four, and I'm not saying I disagree. Where would you put Joe Mazzulla?
I think he'll be fifth. I think he'll be right outside. I think he'll round out the top five.
And I'm only saying that because we almost forget that he's the coach of the defending champions. And while they're not going to have the number one seed, they've played like a defending champion. They're the number two seed. And if they lost all the rest of their games, they'd still be the number two seed.
I feel like Joe Mazzulla, kind of to put this in NFL terms, how Andy Reid doesn't really get consideration for coach of the year, ever, because he has a really good team and he plays for Mahomes. I think Joe Mazzulla is kind of in that scenario where people just look at him and go, well, hey, they have a really good team over there. He should be competing. And really, I almost think Joe Mazzulla just kind of gets underestimated in the job he does, because they just look at the team and go, well, yeah, look at that team. Anybody could do that. But the reality is Joe Mazzulla is just a very good coach to get all the talents to connect.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. It's funny because when you put it like that, I would say that maybe we if that's the case, then does that mean we should reconsider how good a coach Phil Jackson really was? I get it. him and Tex Winters implemented the triangle, but you had Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen developed into an all-NBA player himself, and then you had a really good player in Horace Grant. And then the second time around, you had another really good complementary player in Dennis Rodman. And then it's like you hit the lottery. Phil Jackson coaches Kobe and Shaq. Like, I'm just saying, anybody could run the triangle, but if you replace Kobe and Shaq with John Koncak and John Crotty, it probably wouldn't hit the same way. That's all I'm saying.
We didn't we see that though in like 2014? Phil Jackson took over the Knicks and tried to implement the triangle with Melo, and it went absolutely terribly because it turns out if you want to run the triangle, you need playmakers, and between Carmelo Anthony and Kristaps Porzingis, like you don't have that with that duo.
Facts.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how people just seem to forget that in order to be like a championship caliber team, you need to have really good players.
You do.
And they like hold that against them. But no, all the credit in the world to Joe Mazzulla. I think you can argue that he should be higher, but I think people will almost tax him for having too good of a team.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's funny because I do think you could make a case for the other side of it. Like, well, look at your starting 7, bro. Right? Like, not your starting 5, but your top 7 or 8. That's a pretty deep squad. Like right now, Pritchard is probably 1 or 2 in the 6th Man of the Year award, right? And if he doesn't win it, it's only because Hunter is going to win it, who's now on Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
But Pritchard's been outstanding. And then you have the benefit to having Drew Holiday as like your 5th option on offense, and all he can focus on is defense. And you've got Derek White, and then you've got the biggest X factor in the NBA. You've got Porzingis, who makes every big have to come out there and guard him in space, and he's a great weak side defender on defense. So, yeah, I get it where somebody would go, it's not like Mazzulla's not working with talent, and I didn't say he wasn't, but I think the same way we give Phil Jackson flowers for being able to manage egos and have everybody buy into what they're doing, I think Joe Mazzulla's done a great job, especially this year. Drew was the 4th option. He's now the 5th. He might be the 6th option because he's actually taken a step down to push Pritchard forward, and he bought into that. White bought into that. Like when your coach is able to get guys into going, it's about winning titles and not your individual numbers. That's not easy.
Mazzulla wasn't a good coach when he messed up the depth. Yeah, we see a lot of teams that coaches get good teams that just cannot manage the depth chart at all. So.
Agree with you 100%.
Speaking of the Celtics, Kyle, I'm so glad you're here for this. I'm gonna throw out a take, Mo, that I think to like 99% of like the basketball universe might not be popular, but I wanna throw it out there and I'll see what you think. Jason Tatum is already a top 15 small forward of all time.
No, I believe that. I actually asked that question on TikTok. And I was really shocked at some of the answers. Then again, I shouldn't be shocked because there are a lot of. Anyway, everybody's got opinions, right? But if you're honest, if you're looking at Jason Tatum's resume, I'm talking about right now because he's not a finished product. His career is not over. But I'm just talking about everything he's done to this point stacks up with guys that are already in Hall of Fame. Stacks up with guys that are in the top 15. How is he not? Tell me who's keeping Jason Tatum out of the top 15.
You know what I thought would be fun, Mo? I figured we could kind of test it out, right? And why don't we play a fun round of King of the Hill, Jason Tatum edition?
I love it. I think it's going to hold up really well.
Now, I like cross-referenced like 10 different lists, and like all the same names are ahead of Tatum coming into the season. So I'm going to be basing this off of coming into the year. Clutch Point Sports had Jason Tatum as the 25th small forward in NBA history. Okay. And it's really simple. We're just going to go through the names that were above him, which a lot of people agreed with. And we're going to go Jason Tatum or. And the first name ahead of him at 24, Jason Tatum or Grant Hill.
That's a really good one. Look, Grant Hill was terrific, but my argument is look what Jason Tatum has done, because the only way you even have Grant Hill ahead of him is you're talking about what Grant Hill did his first 6 years in Detroit. I got you. All-star, I think he made him 1 or 2 All-NBA, terrific player. Well, Jason Tatum, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Brett, is a 4-time All-NBA player, getting ready to be a 5-time All-NBA player, and he's like a 6 or 7-time All-Star already, right?
Yeah.
He's also an NBA champion, and Grant Hill was a really good two-way player. Jason Tatum is every bit as good, but he's a more skilled overall offensive player, so I'm taking Jason Tatum.
Yeah, I agree. I would take Tatum over Grant Hill. I think you can argue that Grant Hill offensively, might have been a better player at his peak. I think that's a lot of people's argument for Grant Hill.
But he couldn't shoot as good.
No, I would still take Jason Tatum over Grant Hill.
Me too.
All right, so now we're down to 23. The Matrix, Sean Marion or Jason Tatum?
Jason Tatum. Sean Marion was a terrific player, but he was the kind of player that because with his athleticism, he needed guys to set him up for he could be a great finisher, and he was. But he's not the kind of guy that breaks you down off the dribble because he didn't have a handle and he couldn't shoot. So Jason Tatum, that's not even close.
Fair enough. At 22, we have Jason Tatum or Jamal Wilkes.
I love Silk, a winner, an NCAA champion at UCLA, multiple titles with the Lakers, big part of Showtime. But again, I'm giving you what Jason Tatum is already right now and what he's going to be for another 4 or 5 years or whatever. I'm taking Jason Tatum.
All right. I think this is a fun one. Tatum or Paul George?
Jason Tatum. Here's the reason why. As much as, and I know Kyle's a Celtic fan, he might say, oh, no, the truth. All I'm going to say is this. Jason Tatum, the Tatum and Brown era, they've already equaled what Garnett and Pierce has done. Everything they do going forward is gravy. So Jason Tatum, like I said, he's getting ready to be a 7-time. He's already a 6 or 7-time All-Star, getting ready to be a 5-time All-NBA player. And what if he wins his second title? Yeah, I love Paul Pierce, but I'm going Jason Tatum. You know what people do, Brett, is they get caught up in personalities. For some reason, people don't like, I guess because Jason Tatum doesn't talk a lot or he's not brash, but I'm taking Jason Tatum. Who's next?
Say, Jason Tatum's got that Tim Duncan personality.
Yeah, I get it.
Now, this one, we don't really do pre-merger, so the next one that they had was Billy Cunningham. But, I'll kind of go over that one. But I would take Tatum over Billy Cunningham.
I would too. And look, this is me being fully honest. No, I ain't see Billy Cunningham play. Not in real time, but I saw his highlights. I'm taking Jason Tatum.
Say, 19, Chris Mullin.
I love Chris Mullin. Chris Mullin was very similar to guys like Luka and Joe Johnson in that you couldn't speed him up, and he played at his own pace. Great shooter. I'm still taking Jason Tatum.
All right, at 18, we have Knicks legend Bernard King.
Bernard King might have the quickest shot release in NBA history. Terrific scorer. But he did that one thing at an elite level, but he wasn't a playmaker like Tatum, and he damn sure wasn't a defender Jason Tatum is. I'm taking Jason Tatum.
All right, fair enough. At 17, they had Jimmy Butler or Jason Tatum.
This is the more interesting one because the first thing people say is Jason Tatum doesn't have that dog in him that Jimmy Butler has. He doesn't express it the way Jimmy Butler does vocally. I get that. But I think Jason Tatum is every bit the competitor that Jimmy Butler is. And if you're asking me who's the better player and who's not done yet, because Jimmy's closer to being done. Jason's just getting started. I'm taking Jason Tatum.
Fair enough. Next one, another pre-merger guy. I'm going to just skip over this one. And we're going to go right to number 15, and that is Adrian Dantley.
This is easy. I'm taking Jason Tatum. Adrian Dantley is one of the most gifted scorers who played bigger than his size. He was like 6'4", but he played like he was 6'8". You couldn't guard the guy. But everybody that's ever played with or Adrian Dantley or seen him play, Brett, Adrian Dantley is a black hole. If he gets the ball, it's never coming back out. And he played Olay defense his entire career. This one is easy. I'm actually shocked he's ranked this high. I'm taking Jason Tatum. This one's even easier.
Oh, fair enough. At 14, they have. I think this is where it starts to get really interesting. James Worthy.
Obviously, it's no secret. Mo's a diehard Laker fan, grew up watching the Lakers. A big game James is terrific. But here's where I separate them. James Worthy had the benefit of being the third option for most of the Showtime era. And I think at the very end, he became the second option. Jason Tatum has always played with the pressure of being the guy for the most part. I don't know if James Worthy could ever be the guy. I know he's a finals MVP, but Iguodala's a finals MVP, and he was never the best player in the Warriors. I'm taking Jason Tatum.
Well, fair enough. Say number 12, they have Rick Barry.
I'm taking Jason Tatum.
Say 11. Here we go. Celtics legend right here. Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce? I thought you already had Paul Pierce.
Oh, no, not yet.
Oh, they had him. That's pretty high for Paul Pierce. 11. Wow.
The other Paul was at 20. They had Paul George at 21, and then now here's Paul Pierce at 11.
Oh, I would have took him over him too, but I would take Jason Tatum over Paul Pierce. I think Paul Pierce was a great player. I think in a lot of ways he overachieved because not lightning quick, not a freakish athlete, but high clutch gene. Again, the perception is that Tatum's not a great competitor. I think that he doesn't show it the same way others do. I like what you said earlier. Jason Tatum kind of has the Tim Duncan stoic thing going, right? He doesn't give you a lot of yelling and show. He just can play. I think Jason Tatum in his career, if he stopped playing right now, he's done as much for the Celtics as Paul Pierce ever did. I'm taking Jason Tatum.
Right. Mo, not only top 15, this is for top 10 small forward of all time territory. Jason Tatum or Carmelo Anthony?
Jason Tatum.
All right.
By the way, again, I don't know how they even came up with these rankings, but I do it in the mindset of who's the better basketball player. If you ask me who's the better scorer, yeah, I think Carmelo's a better scorer because he can do it in a number of ways. I don't think he's a better basketball. He's not a better basketball player. Nobody's ever going to say Jason Tatum can't play both ends of the floor. Nobody's going to say Jason Tatum can't facilitate. Melo didn't play defense, and he ain't passing it to nobody. I'm taking Jason Tatum.
All right, at number 9, we have the human highlight reel, Dominique Wilkins.
Yeah, I'm taking Jason Tatum. That's actually easier than the Melo one. They're actually the same guy, except the other guy has more hops.
And then, of course, I think this is where the Tatum bus might finally slow down because the top 8 for small forwards, it's absolutely wild. At number 8, they have Kawhi Leonard. We know what peak Kawhi Leonard was, and that's what makes it so tough.
All right, well, look, I haven't. The crazy thing is, as great as Jason Tatum is, and I've taken him over all those other guys, Brett. I don't think I've seen peak Jason Tatum yet, or at least all of it, right? Isn't he just hitting his prime, right?
Yeah.
He's 26 or 27. But I've seen the best version of Kawhi Leonard, and I've seen Kawhi Leonard be the best player on a championship team. I don't think he passes Kawhi Leonard.
All right.
Although the crazy part is he might be better than the guy ahead of Kawhi. I don't know who's ahead of Kawhi Leonard, so.
I'll give you a hint. He played for the Chicago Bulls in the 90s.
I can't put him ahead of Pippen. not yet. Not yet.
So the only guys then that Tatum would be behind: LeBron, Bird, Durant, Elgin Baylor, Julius Erving, John Havlicek, Scottie Pippen, and Kawhi Leonard.
I don't disagree with none of those. I think they're ahead of him. I think all of them are ahead of him right now today. There's no question in my mind. And I'm sure there's some people out there, you put him ahead of Melo, you put him ahead of Neek. Y'all are getting caught up in name recognition. I'm just talking about who's the better basketball player. He's better than both of them. They were terrific scorers, but they didn't guard anybody, and they weren't playmakers. He's better. Here's the part that I would put out there also. So he stops at Kawhi Leonard and everybody you name, Havlicek and Durant and Bird and Bron. I get all that, and Pippen, but he's not done. And if he adds another title or 2 or 4, or let's say he adds one more title, but he also adds 5 more times as an All-Star and 5 more times as All-NBA. How do I know that? I mean, he's 26. He can't win an MVP? Absolutely. So I you know what? I actually surprised myself. I said there's no doubt in my mind he's top 15. Apparently, at worst, I might have got one wrong here or there. So he's top 11 at worst.
Yeah, so even at worst, let's say even if we got 1 or 2 wrong, that would even 2 wrong, Mo, that still puts him in the top 10. So
now, right, that's kind of crazy to me. And I know that people who definitely can't stand Jason Tatum for some reason or other. I know Gene, the NFL genius, the captain at Wire to Wire Sports here, he stands by the Jason Tatum's corny. I don't argue that he's corny or not. I'm just talking about him as a basketball player. I didn't say I want to hang out with him and have a beer. But if I want somebody to be the face of my franchise and help us win, I like Jason Tatum. I'll take him. Look, everybody's already putting Anthony Edwards to surpass Jason Tatum, and some other guys to surpass Jason Tatum. I think Jason Tatum is going to be that NBA star to get slept on. He's going to be that guy, Brett, when it's all said and done, when we go, yeah, Jason Tatum won 3 titles, but was he ever the best player in the league, Mo? Like, maybe he wasn't, but he won. And because he won at the highest level and he put up numbers, it's what's going to make him a top 10 small forward.
Yeah, and that's the number one. Kyle says number 1 on that list is corny. You're not wrong. Yeah. and that's funny because that's not even a knock on Jason Tatum. Like, he's not the best player in the league. That's just more of a testament to how good the top half of the league is right now. Like, I can't, like, can we really be holding against Tatum that he's not better than Jokic, Giannis, Luka, or SGA, or any of those guys? And you can make the argument that he is better than SGA. He is
right.
Better than some of these guys.
I was just getting ready to say, if you want to tell me that Luka, because when you're weighing Tatum against Luka, what you're weighing is that Luka is so special, so dominant offensively, it off-puts the fact that Tatum is better both ways, right? Tatum is the better basketball player all around. It's not even close. Because Luka's, to be nice, he's a poor defender. So you're saying his offensive dominance, and I'm not saying that's impossible, because I made the case for James Harden one time when I said, they were like, the argument was, well, Klay Thompson is a two-way player. And I was like, I don't give a damn. Klay Thompson's not a better basketball player than James Harden. He's had more success, but he's had the benefit of being the second and at times third option on the Warriors. James Harden was the number 1 option on every team he played on, except maybe Brooklyn and arguably the Clippers right now. Klay has never had that responsibility because Klay's not the kind of player that could carry a team. So again, yes, he's a better two-way player, but which one of them is more impactful? If they were like, if it was the Warriors, no Steph Curry, but Klay was the number 1 option versus the Houston Rockets, well, then James Harden would have played in the finals multiple times.
I think I just almost threw up at that idea.
No, I mean, look, you might disagree and say Klay's better, but I don't think he's a better player.
No, I mean, like, to be clear, the idea of Klay Thompson as the number 1 option, that's the idea. I completely agree. I think James Harden's a much better player than Klay Thompson. I don't even think it's close.
Right. You can't. People throw up two-way, and I go, the two-way thing works for me. If you're telling me that Klay Thompson is two-way and Klay Thompson has made 6 All-NBA teams, and which, by the way, Klay Thompson, to my knowledge, I think he's made 1 or 2, maybe 1 or 2. But James Harden is an MVP. James Harden, I think if there's a 5-year period with Houston, Brett, I think you're looking at like 39-8 or something. The numbers are insane. But he took the Rockets to the conference finals multiple times. I'm just making the point that people get lost on, that Klay had the benefit of being a second option to an ultra next level superstar in Steph Curry. I'm just making a point. That's all I'm making. Like, y'all don't get lost on that. I think Jason Tatum is a better basketball player than Luka. But if you go who's more dominant, it's Luka. Luka can do things as an offensive player that Tatum doesn't. He doesn't have that alpha mentality. He doesn't. So if somebody goes, so you're saying you would rank Tatum ahead of Luka? I wouldn't rank him ahead of him. I'm just saying he's the more balanced player. That's all.
I think a lot of people mistaken better player against easier to build around.
Maybe that's a
Like,
better way to put it. I like that.
Tatum, is he a better player than Luka? I don't think so, because I do think that the gap between Luka and Tatum on offense is actually pretty massive. And I think, it's big enough for me to comfortably say Luka is the better player. Here's the kicker, though. Who is easier to build around? Jason Tatum. I can put these other great players next to Jason Tatum, and he's going to take a back seat and sacrifice whatever is needed to make it work. While to get max value out of Luka Doncic, you have to put the ball in his hands. You have to surround him with defensive specialists. And the problem with surrounding him with defensive specialists is we saw it against the Celtics. They shut off Kyrie and Luka, and they're like, yeah, hey, guess what, Derrick Jones Jr.? Hit a three. It didn't work. Hey, PJ Washington, hit a three. It didn't work. Like, you have to surround him with a certain type of player, but those certain types are normally very limited. So it almost like limits the overall team construction where Luka can get you to the promised land. He can take you to the finals, and I have no doubt that he can win one. But the team that you have to construct around him, if you run into a really good coach, kind of like, Joe Mazzulla, they're going to be able to game plan to take away your strengths, and that's kind of what killed him.
No, I don't disagree. Look, I think that you make a great point that Luka is harder to build around. And so, like I said, I think Luka as an offensive player is so dominant, like peak James Harden was. That's what makes him a better player than Jason Tatum. When you say two-way player, what kind of two-way player would offset a Luka Doncic? It would have to be a two-way player who's almost as good as he is offensively, but 10 levels better defensively to make it that way. Well, there's how many guys remotely close to that in the NBA? None that I can think of. That's why Luka's one of the three best players in basketball.
Yeah, the only like two-way player you can really make an argument for that's better than him is Giannis. And Giannis is also giving you 30 on the offensive end at a very efficient rate. So
they're very, and it's like I said, it's a very unique thing. I thought it was impressive that Luka and the Mavericks made it to the finals last year. I don't think it was the start of the Mavericks being a dominant team in the West. I think it was just a great run. I think it's hard to win a title with a player of Luka's skill set. I've yet to see anybody with his skill set win a title. I guess if you were going to really squint your eyes and go, well, LeBron is similar to Luka, there's some similarities. They're not similar. One, LeBron is a more efficient player. He's a more athletic player. And LeBron at his prime was an elite defensive player. They're not the same. They might be closer to being the same now because LeBron's 40 and he doesn't play defense that much, but peak LeBron was on a whole other level. Luka's unique. I've been critical of him because I don't know if you can win a title with a Luka Doncic. We're gonna find out because now he has somebody whose basketball IQ, whose ability, even at age 40, is very close to his. We're gonna see if the Lakers can pull off at least going on a deep playoff run with two elite scorers and elite passers. We'll see. Look, and by the way, in no way am I anti-Luka, but if you ask me to call it how I see it, I'm gonna call it how I see it. I mean, Jason Tatum is unique. You brought up something. He is easier to build around because I think he's less concerned with numbers than, say, other players are, right? Like, if you told Tatum, we need you to take a step back because this guy's kind of coming up, I think Tatum could do that. Not everybody can do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. I think the biggest difference, too, for me between, like, LeBron and Tatum, I don't think they're even come back. I think the biggest difference offensively between the two is LeBron's actually very good off the ball when he wants to be, and that's actually one of my biggest problems with Luka. And kind of what he does is if he's off the ball, he's just very non-existent. That's something
he's stationary.
And that's something I would love to see, like, change. Because, like, LeBron off the ball, you'll see him, like, timely cuts, and he'll, like, get down low and seal his defender. Like, he'll do things to create an easier look for himself that you just don't see out of Luka. And I'm hoping if Luka learns something from, little from LeBron before he retires, it's just kind of how to play off the ball in a more efficient manner.
Yeah, you have to make yourself a factor without the ball. Cut, set a pick for somebody else, flare out, but stay involved. When Luka doesn't have the ball, he's not involved in the offense.
Yeah, say Luca and like it's funny because I would like Trae Young a lot more if he would also move off the ball. That
Could he? Could he play off the ball?
He should be able to, like theoretically, but that's the problem. That idea is just theoretical because he hasn't shown it yet.
I'm only saying that because I get LeBron is 6'8", Luka's 6'7", 6'8". If 6'2" Trae Young cuts back door, I don't know, he might still end up getting his ball swatted into the stands. I feel like Trae Young is very similar to Luka, very similar to James Harden in that none of them are very good off the ball. When James Harden doesn't have the ball, does he cut? Does he go set a pick? No, he just stands there and go, "It's your turn." That's kind of been James Harden his whole career. That's kind of been Luka to this point in his career. You're right. Look, if the Lakers are going to actually make this run that people think they're capable of, I think Luka's going to have to do some things that he's uncomfortable doing. And I'm not talking about defensively. I'm talking about offensively.
See, I think even if like Trae could like learn how to just cut from, I don't know, one corner to the other, that would draw a couple defenders' eyes, and that would help a ton. So I don't expect him to all of a sudden become some like elite cutting machine. Like even cut from one corner to the other.
Just some kind of movement, right? Just some movement.
Like even if he moves a little bit, like, you know, he always gets voted the most overrated player in the NBA every year, but teams pay attention to him. So if he would start moving and start taking the eyes off of, you know, what's going on elsewhere, that would be a huge.
He is an incredibly talented player.
Say Luka's that wide receiver who knows
to
run play.
Right. Kyle, I couldn't have put it better. Right. You're a wide receiver and it's a run play, but you're supposed to take off like it's a go route to take your man to draw attention. And Luka's like, don't even worry about it, bro. I'm not getting the ball. Like that he's that guy. He is that guy.
That just reminds me of the one time they had Jay Cutler as the Wildcat receiver, and he just stood there with his hands on his hips the entire time. But you know, before we get on out of here, Mo, I just want to say, I just want to throw out a quick. I hope Juju Watkins has a speedy recovery. Unfortunately, she tore her ACL, and her season's done. And you know, maybe next season, we don't know yet. We don't know how it's going to go. But you know, she's a fantastic talent, and I'm hoping that the recovery goes well, and that you know she's back on the court and playing to the level that she was before. So, like I said, I'm wishing her a speedy recovery.
Look, I co-sign on that. Juju, come back 100%. Even if it means you may have to miss most or all of next season, come back 100% your senior year, and then get ready to go into the W healthy and be a star there. I think your health comes first, and then we worry about playing the game of basketball.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I still think that Juju probably will create a fun rivalry. I think you're going to have a fun rivalry with, you know, upcoming guards here. You know, we just had Caitlin last year. You're going to have Paige coming in this year. And then in 2 years from now, you're going to have Juju coming in. And I think that's going to create a lot of new faces, you know, in the guard scene and the W. And it's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be like a true like rivalry to watch between Caitlin, Juju, Paige, Breanna Stewart.
Oh, I love it.
It's getting so much more competitive. But, you know, that's all I had for us today, Mo. Anything you want to say before we get up on out of here?
No, thanks for everybody joining us. John, you're always there. We appreciate you so much. Key, Kyle, Jory, thank you guys so much chiming in. You guys were live tonight. Thank everybody for joining us. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Brett and I are on the first leg of our weekly double-double. We will see you guys tomorrow morning on Coffee and Sports in the Morning. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks everybody who tuned in the chat. Definitely appreciate all of you. Like I said, catch us on the. Yeah, that's another great name.
Oh yes, she's a baller.
You know, you can catch us tomorrow, and you know, I hope if you don't catch us tomorrow, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you for tuning in to the And One podcast. If you like our content, you can find more on the Wire to Wire Podcast Network on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. Want more And One? Find it on Wire to Wire. Like and share our Facebook page and join the And One Discord. Grab the link to join from our Facebook. Thank you for tuning in and have a wonderful day.